What's happening, people? Hope you're all well. I'm about to go and do a day's work, but let's talk about what age can you grow until. And apologies if the light for this video is inadequate. There seems to be some sort of issue with this device that I'm going to be working on. So, what height can you grow until? I mean, I guess a lot of it, and I suppose the majority of it, is down to genetics. Um, some people, I remember when I started high school, some people were really tall, and then by the end of high school they'd either averaged out or were even maybe on the shorter side. And I would say, for men, it really is a case of genetics, but I also think some lifestyle choices can have a minor impact. I think over 95% of it is due to genetics. Let me talk about my personal experience. So I was always slightly on the shorter side up until about the age of 15. And I believe at the age of 15, I was 5'6" tall. And then from the start of 15 to the end of 15, I'd gone from 5'6" tall to 5'9" tall. And I remained in the 5'9" category up until my early 20s. And then in my early 20s, I had a mini growth spurt and I went from 5'9" to just over 5'10". And I thought that I'd stop growing. So for me, it was staggered. For me, I was quite short, had quite a big growth spurt in my mid-teens, and then that really petered out, and then I thought I actually had stopped growing, and then in my early 20s, I'm saying maybe 20 to 22 years old, I grew an inch and a bit and finished off at 5'10", which is average range, maybe slightly over average height in the UK. UK being 5'9" as an average, I actually think it's slightly shorter than that because that's self-reported. But either way, not to get into all that. So for me, it was a bit of a big one in the middle and then a slightly later one at the end. I think, if I'm being honest, most people, by the time they are 18 years old, by the time most men are 18 years old, you've probably reached, you probably grew the majority that you're going to grow. So say you are 18 years old and you're 5'9", then I would say the likelihood is you're going to end up, once you finish growing, in the 5'9" to 5'10" range. If you're lucky, you might be over 5'10", but I would say once you hit 18, for most people, at most you're going to grow an inch, probably less. You may even be done. That's for most people. Now you have different sections, and it would be kind of negligible for me to not talk about the three different types of people with regards to height. You got the early bloomers, who I talked about. When I first started high school, these guys were massive. They were the same height as teachers. I was like, wow, you're tall. And then by the end of high school, they were either average, short, or slightly above average, a lot of them. Then you got the people who have a more of a steady growth rate. Maybe people like, kind of like myself, I kind of grew steady on the short side, and then I had I kind of had an increase. So not really me. You got the early bloomers, the people who grow early, maybe at 12, 13. They've some of them are done, almost done at 14. Then you got people who, they're kind of steady growth, no real massive spurt. And then you got people who are late bloomers. So there are some people, I remember there was a guy who was a similar height to me when we were 15. he ended up being in the maybe 6'1" to 6'2" range. I remember someone who was actually slightly above average height, so I want to say maybe 5'11" when we were at the end of high school. So still tall, but not remarkably tall. And then by the time we were 17, I want to say he was in the 6'4" range. So from about 15, 16 to age 6, so from about 15 to 16, and then going on to the 16 to 17 range, he had somehow gone from around 5'11" to 6'4", and he was noticeably tall. Like I'm saying, and he was a twin as well, so it was noticeable because his twin, I want to say, was around 6'1" maybe. So he was still tall, but then his twin was like 6'4". He was skinny as well, so he looked even taller than that. So you get the early bloomers, you get the sort of steady guys, and then you got like the late bloomers. But then you have to also factor in the fact that everyone is slightly different. So I find it hard to kind of put myself in a category. If I had a gun to my head, I would say I was in the a bit of every. I wasn't early. So it's kind of hard for me to put myself in any category, to be honest with you. But if you put a gun to my head, I would probably say that I was in the mid category. You know, it was quite steady. I had a spurt in the middle, and then I had a little spurt at the end. So for me, I would say I'm most fitted into the middle category, but I definitely had a few spurts. And I definitely went from slightly below average to slightly above average, but I'd still consider myself, I didn't move out of the average range. I wouldn't say that I'm tall, but I would definitely say that I moved from the shorter side to the slightly taller side. So yeah, but everyone's different. And what age can you grow until? It's purely genetics. I would say most people are gonna finish around 18. You got 21 when most people are going to be done. You do get a few who are over 21. You do. I don't think it's like boom, your 21st birthday, boom, you have stopped growing. I don't think it's like there's like this rule in the universe where you're 21 and that's it, you're done. Like everyone's done at 21. Like, you know, you get a letter through the post, well done, you've reached the age of 21, and by the way, you stop growing. I don't think it's like that. I think there are some people and there are some cases of, and I think there was that guy, that Robert, I think his name was Robert Wadlow, and he was like 8'11" or something, the tallest recorded man in like modern history. I mean, I don't believe in all of that, but that's what people are saying. 8'11", very tall man, and but I think when he was dying, he died early due to his height. I believe he was there. He hadn't finished growing, and I believe he was over 21. I think you still can grow over 21, but that's like really, really rare. But for most people like me and you, the average person out here, you're gonna be pretty much done by 18. Um, and you know most of it's down to genetics. I mean it highlights something people like talking about, but really and truthfully it's one of those things you can't even control. If I say, do you know, I'm going to lose a bit of weight, I can probably do that in maybe a month or something. I can't exactly say, oh, I'm going to grow taller and then I'll be done. So it's funny, the conversation a lot of men like to talk about is the one that you have little control over. But there you go, maybe that's human nature for you. Anyway, what do you think about what I said in this video? Let me know. Do you agree with the points I made? What was your experience if you're done growing? And if you're still growing, then get involved in the chat as well. Let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work and want to leave a donation, there's also a link for that. The link for that's in the description. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you on the next one.